Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, you all are having a wonderful day today. So, when it comes down to it, I thought that I would talk about this little situation. And I was not really going to originally talk about this situation because I don't usually like talking about topics like this. And of course, the reason why I don't like talking about topics like this, at least when it comes to certain arrest records, at least if it only comes to a couple times, because I don't usually like to prey overall on certain people when they're at their lowest point. I think that we all have issues. I think that we all have certain things that we have to get over. But I think overall that when it comes to Mr. Jermall Charlo, that I do think that I have to talk about this at least for a little bit, at least for, a short little subject, because it's very clear to me that both the Charlo brothers and, of course, Mr. Jermall Charlo, who now has been arrested for the second time, I believe now within the past 6 months to a year, it's very clear to me that this dude has a very big emotional issue. And I think that both Charlo brothers, when it comes down to it, that you can see that they're both very emotional fighters. That when you take a look at both of them, that almost every single time that they win a fight, they basically jump on top of the ropes and they try to use that emotion overall basically to their advantage. And certain times overall emotion can be used to your advantage, but it's not overall a good thing to lose control of those emotions because basically it can be used like a fire. Sometimes fire overall can be a good thing, sometimes all in all, and I'm not the only one to use this quote, but sometimes overall, basically what a rapid amount of emotions can be used as, they're almost like a great fire. But the problem is that even though fire can do a great amount of things, it can provide you heat, it can, maybe provide you light when it comes down to it. If it gets too out of control, it basically can destroy you. And that's the thing overall about Mr. Jermall Charlo right now. Now, I don't think overall that more than likely that this is going to end up being something that is very, very big. I think that more than likely Jermall Charlo is probably going to get off on whatever charge that he is, or that more than likely it's not going to end up as that big of an issue. But at the end of the day, like I said, in my opinion, this actually does need to be talked about because if you now have been arrested for the second time overall within the past 6 months to a year, it's very clear, in my opinion, that you have some sort of very big emotional issue or overall that you have a very big anger issue. And let me also state this, and I may say this a little bit later on in the video, because there's a certain amount of people that also may say, well, do you think that Jermall Charlo, that maybe he's trying to find an excuse to maybe not fight Canelo Alvarez? Because I've seen a certain amount of people, of course, comment and say that, and there's a certain amount of people that I've seen on the other channels basically say, wow, Charlo will do anything to basically avoid Canelo Alvarez. Now, of course, on the surface, many people would say, well, that just looks stupid. Why the hell would he do that? What I'll say is this. I'm not going to definitively say that, but what I will say is this. Jermall Charlo, I do think that he realizes that if he is going to ever get that Canelo Alvarez fight, that more than likely is going to happen very, very soon. Is there maybe a possibility that Jermall Charlo, maybe overall when he takes a look at that Canelo fight and he says, wow, I've been talking shit on Canelo Alvarez and I've been saying all in all that I can beat this guy for the past several years. Now the opportunity may finally arise. It looks more likely and likely every possible day that maybe the fight will happen within the next couple of years. If that fight actually happens, I'm going to have to put my money where my mouth is. Is there maybe a possibility that Jermall Charlo has dug himself a hole overall, or maybe subconsciously somewhat found a way to put himself in trouble so maybe he does not have to live up to expectations? It's possible. What I'll say is this, it doesn't seem likely on the surface, and of course, to a lot of people on the surface, that would sound incredibly stupid. But, a lot of people when it comes down to it, a lot of people when it comes to not getting what they want in life or not getting the opportunities, more often than not, it's not anyone else's fault but ourselves. It just is what it is. And that's why a lot of people, what you notice is that they'll basically complain about how their life is not going the way that they want it to. But then when an opportunity actually arises for them to improve their quality of life, at least allegedly for them, they don't usually take it. There's a bunch of people all in all that, say that they hate their job or they hate their degree, they hate this, they hate that, but they never leave their job or they never leave the direction of their degree. They say they hate their relationship, that they wish that they were with someone else. We all know one woman or one girlfriend or someone that overall always complains about how they wish they were with a new man or new girl, but then at the end of the day, they never leave. So I think that Jermall Charlo, when it comes down to it, like I said, is there maybe a possibility that maybe he realizes that there's going to be a great amount of pressure on him and maybe was there some of those feelings there? It's possible. I wouldn't rule it out completely. But anyways, Mr. Dante's Boxing Nation, he's going to be talking about this. I'm going to tune in. Let's get into it.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So it was previously reported by ESPN's Mike Coppinger, and I made a video on it, that Canelo Alvarez, he chose to fight Bivol, take the 2-fight deal from DAZN and Matchroom and fight Bivol and Golovkin, and turn down a $45 million deal, 1-fight deal, to fight Jermall Charlo. His trainer came out and said that that's not true, Reynoso. Reynoso came out, he said it's not true. They're still in negotiations with both parties, PBC and DAZN. But the more recent news is Jermall Charlo has just been arrested, and it's a felony charge. Jermall Charlo, he's been accused or he's been charged of punching someone, some family member or whatever the case may be, but he's still in custody right now. According to reports, the incident had happened in September of 2021. Now, you would think, because we always hear about boxers getting arrested for little small stuff, and then we hear nothing about it, charges get dropped, etc., etc. But you never know when a fighter is on a coincidental list like Jermall Charlo. By way of contrast, Sergey Kovalev, he got arrested for punching a woman in the face. Matter of fact, he broke her nose because she dissed him. She rejected him at a party. He followed her out, him and his friends followed her out to her cabin, and he ended up breaking her nose.
Well, what I'll say is this, and Dante is trying to make the point all in all that basically that, of course, since Jermall Charlo was a black fighter, that he will get treated differently. Excuse me. And I'm not saying, of course, that maybe black fighters or black athletes or, you know, of course, black people, if that's what you want to call them in general, that, of course, they may not have certain double standards against them. But just thinking of boxers, at least on the top of my head, that I've seen for the past 20 years, there's still been a lot of boxers, no matter what demographic they be, or athletes overall, that have been able to get off on certain charges. You know, whether it be, you know, John Jones, for example. John Jones, now, of course, John Jones, he may be a little bit different because John Jones, he's pretty much is one of the faces of UFC. The thing is about Jermall Charlo is that even though he is one of the bigger names in boxing, I certainly would not call him one of the big, you know, faces overall of boxing. He is overall a very, very decent name, but when it comes down to it, he's not on the Canelo level or yada, 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 yada. But there are certain overall black athletes that have gotten away with certain things as well. I mean, take a look at John Jones, for example. The man has had more arrest records overall than anyone I can even name to date. I mean, it is what it is.
He got 3 years probation for that. And when it comes to Conor McGregor, oh man, there's a list of things that he's been accused of doing, and he didn't get probation for any of it. And then, of course, Floyd Mayweather, he got sent to jail for his domestic violence case. So it's up in the air. Once again, you know, situations like this are usually minor, but you just never know when a fighter is on a coincidental list how this is going to play out. We'll see. With that being said, I'm going to wrap this video up. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. All right, now check.
Anyways, we will see overall what happens with Mr. Jermall Charlo. I hope all in all that he gets out of this okay. But we will see all in all what happens. I don't necessarily know what the story is behind the scenes, but no matter what the story is behind the scenes, apparently he overall had a issue with a family member or overall punched a family member. At the end of the day, you're a professional boxer, and I believe all in all that the law states that it pretty much is illegal for you to use your hands in combat unless overall for complete self-defense, and this didn't sound like one of those cases. So Jermall Charlo, like I said, it's very clear to me that he has a very big anger problem, that he overall tends to be over-emotional. And that's not just a problem overall with Jermall Charlo, but it's also a very big problem with Jermall Charlo as well. It is what it is. So we'll see all in all what happens with Mr. Jermall Charlo. I hope all in all for him, you know, to have the best possible luck. But at the end of the day, this is now the second time that I've heard you overall arrested within the past year or possibly within the past 6 months. So what are you doing necessarily overall to yourself to jeopardize your career? So Jermall Charlo, at the end of the day, whatever happens to him, unfortunately, he will have no one else to blame but himself. It is what it is. And we'll see all in all if this ends up costing him the Canelo Alvarez fight. But we'll see all in all what happens. Anyways, that's pretty much all I got for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you all later.